Onyx Marine have invited us for an exclusive tour to see their first ever boat, a sub 35-foot sailing catamaran that looks like nothing you've ever seen before. You've probably never heard of Onyx Marine, and nor had we until recently, but they are a boat manufacturer that are pushing the boundaries in terms of catamaran design and creating something very special for the sailing community. I'm Ruth, this is Andrew, and you're watching The Runa Life. And this is the yacht that they've set out to build. A 10.5 metre catamaran that looks more like a spaceship than a yacht. So in this video, we head to their factory near Cape Town to see their very first hull. We speak to the owners and learn how they set out to break the mould against established boat builders, and they take us through some of the innovative features that are pushing the boundaries of catamaran design.
And I go aboard to take a full tour of their production boat to see how it actually compares to the 3D renders that we've seen online. So let's head into the factory and get started. So I'm here with the two founders of Onyx Marine, standing underneath hull number 1. Guys, thank you so much for having us. It is wonderful to be here. Tell us about this first boat. What is Onyx Marine?
Well, Onyx Marine developed from my passion and Francois' passion to go sailing. And I met Francois on the docks, the two old boys on the dock. And I was in the process of designing something, and I found somebody that could build it. The synergy just happened, and we started developing this boat that is built around the cruiser adventure sailor. So we started off like that and started a company, and here we are.
Fantastic. What a story. So you're the designer, you're the builder, is that right? Kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think both of us involved with the designing process.
Yeah.
It was about two years in the making.
Yeah.
I've come with boat building experience for most of my life, and then also cruised quite a lot.
Okay.
So a lot of the things that didn't work out in the cruising fields is incorporated, and Chris and myself sit around his computer for hours on end, thrashing which way to go. And I could actually say that this boat ticks a lot of the boxes, from manageability, crew issues where you don't have crew. So the design factor is from need instead of from a mathematical point of view.
Yeah, I can't
a lot
imagine.
of experience is built in, yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's an easy process designing a boat, especially a boat that looks as unique as this one. So this is hull number 1. This is your very first boat.
Yeah.
How long has it taken to get to this stage where you now have an almost finished boat ready to hit the water?
That's almost 3 years. 2 years just in front of the computer.
Wow. Just designing?
Designing, talking features through. What do you actually want to achieve with this boat? Who do you want to serve? And it's almost like a little bit of a rebel design.
It's a very cool design, I must say. I've not seen anything like it.
The main thing is you can't satisfy your needs with what's out there in the market.
Yeah.
So we don't want to try and chase all the other market players. We want to build a boat for us. And it was quite a surprise that there's a lot of us out there.
Yeah, for sure.
That needs things a little bit different, a little bit of a rebel input. Yeah.
So when is this boat ready to hit the water? When are you going to be launching your very first boat?
This boat actually belongs to a customer.
So it's sold?
Sold, done from the Netherlands. He's speccing all the finishes and upgrades that he wants.
Okay.
So, and he's planning to sail to the Caribbean in the season coming now, which is the sort of end of September through to February next year.
Fantastic.
So we're basically looking at 4 months, but a sea trials, and then she's going to do the Atlantic crossing.
Amazing. Well, I certainly can't wait to see until she's finished. I think she's going to look amazing.
And this is the rebel design that they've come up with. A modern, cutting-edge 10.5 metre sailing catamaran that can cross oceans in comfort. And it's not just the exterior design that's pushing the boundaries. The interior is nothing like we've ever seen before. The cockpit looks more like a stylish Italian café than a cruising catamaran. Smart, space-saving innovation and design concepts that have been distilled down from large luxury catamarans has resulted in what the team at Onyx believe is the ultimate owner's catamaran. The Onyx is being built purely as a catamaran for owners, with 2 matching owner's cabins that can sleep 4 people. And by not focusing on the charter market, the team can build a boat that looks as beautiful as this one.
Ruth catches up with Francois, one of the founders, to learn more about the other unique concepts that they've come up with.
So with it being 10.5 metres, yeah, quite a short boat. So how do you mitigate the hobby horse effect?
That's a big, huge problem. And there's 2 things that drive that. Firstly, is you want a narrow hull entry. As you can see, this hull is quite narrow for performance. So the big thing is to get your buoyancy in the right place.
Yeah.
But if you're pushing performance, you want to cut through the wave, but you don't want to increase your reserve buoyancy too quickly. So we came up with this unique idea. A doubles back is basically a hydraulic shock absorber. So if you can imagine the boat plunging into a wave, you got all this resistance to keep her from nosediving, if I can put it simple as that. And then when she pops out because the reserve buoyancy kicked in, it's again shock absorbed, that it doesn't shoot out. Because once that starts, you can imagine what happens at the top of the mast, and that whole rig amplifies and it becomes into a sine wave, and you just can't get out of it. So if you can stop the actual movement very quickly with your shock absorber, which we have hydraulics already, that mitigates it. And then furthermore, we also, in front of the crash bulkhead here, there's a little winglet that's obviously not constructed now, sitting right here. This boat, this customer is not automating it, but it can automate with a Vita stabilizing system, which is then electro-hydraulic. So you can actually fly the hull underwater, which stabilizes the boat quite a lot. This one will just be set at a positive lift angle, so that when you're on a run, you don't dip the bows, overpower them and push them way down. So
traditionally you get a pointed bow on the hull, so why is this one flat?
Well, it's again to do with the hobby horsing issue that you have with a shorter boat. So where it matters, when conditions are perfect, our waterline is sitting right at the tip here. The entry is the ideal entry of a 19mm radius. So once it gets a little bit rough and you're pushing into chop, is when you start your hobby horsing action. Now, by raking it back like this and making a flat surface, so if a swell had to come up, the resultant lift, because the bow is now buried and displacing water, is countered by the force pushing down on the flat bow with a forward motion resultant, then gets it to an even keel again.
And do you think that has a negative impact on speed, or?
If you're running into a chop with a short boat, you have more negative impact with your mast tip acceleration. Because if you start hobby horsing, it multiplies at the tip of the mast, and your sail actually experiences wind in the wrong direction. So yes, it is negative, but it's less negative than a mast that's not staying in its lane.
Makes sense, Come on, tell me about these. What are these?
This is a bit of an interesting, quirky thing that Chris and myself came up with. I sail quite a lot in the Caribbean, and it's really hot there, and with my fair skin, it's a huge thing not to not to turn into a lobster. So I spent a lot of the time under the boat because it's cool there and the water is nice and there's always a breeze going through. So if you the water line sits over here, and we're actually putting a carbon-fibre bar through here, so that you can do a little bit of pull-ups. And if you're tired of that, you tie the hammock over here, and there's another little one in the back there that takes the back end of the hammock. So you have 2 hammocks that you can adjust.
Just lounge under
Yes,
here.
because you're going to spend a lot of time under the boat. And then we got the escape hatch here, so beverages can be passed down.
The gin and tonics, definitely.
Yes,
so that's fantastic.
That's the Jimmer story. And then obviously the trampoline, you always have the issue, in my experience, that don't jump on the trampoline.
Yeah.
So the question is, why call it a trampoline?
If it's not,
So
yeah.
what we've done now is we've created the beam structure that can actually carry a real trampoline.
Yeah.
And we'd like you to jump on it and really get your workout.
Nice. Great for the
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
And for the adults.
And for the adults.
Okay, so come on a tour with me. Does this boat really live up to the renders we've seen online? Well, let's go check out the interior space and see what this 35-foot boat can deliver. Now, the first thing that strikes me as soon as you come on board is the space you get. This is 35 foot, 10.5 meters, and it feels like a bigger boat. It feels like we've taken a 50-foot catamaran and shrunk it down. As soon as you come up onto the aft transom, you have these big doors. These doors go straight into both cabins. So if you're wet, you've been swimming, you can just go straight into the shower area. Really, really smart. It's really cool into the features that this boat is just full of. You've got little storage hatches here. So if you've got your outboard motor, you can come in and hide your outboard motor here, which is really clever. Grab handles that are built into the structure of the boat. Again, it's a small boat, so you need to be thinking about space saving, and instead of just screwing on a metal grab handle, they've integrated it into the pillar, which is really, really smart. This is where you notice the size of the boat. This is the cockpit area, and it does feel a little bit smaller, but it's 35 foot, and there's still plenty of space. You've got loads of seating. The helm stations are elevated. This is 2 elevated helm stations, one on port, one on starboard. But it's when you walk into this area, into the saloon, that you really notice the difference. This is a big saloon, and it feels bigger than what we have on our XS11 at 38 foot. Okay, it doesn't have its fixtures and fittings in yet. It needs the galley to go in, it needs a seating area, but you can just see how lovely and what a beautiful space this is going to be. You're gonna have your kitchens here, and you're gonna have a seating area over here. And if you look at the renders online, the photos just look incredible. The finish of this boat is gonna be unbelievable, I'm sure. Now, come with me down to the hulls. This boat has two matching owners' cabins. They are so spacious, and they have so many cool features I've never seen before. Now, come on in. One of the coolest things that I've seen on this boat is this bed. We're in the middle of the hull, and we have a queen-size bed right in the middle. Now, the owners of the factory have told us that this is because you avoid the rocking. So if you have your beds in your stern and your bows, your boat's going like that when you're on passage. If you take the bed and put it right in the middle, there's less movement, so you get a comfy and nice sleep, which just makes so much sense. Right, come this way. We have an office. This is a 35-foot catamaran. We have a queen-size bed. We have an office space. We then have loads of storage and cupboard space in here. And we have our head as well. And again, it's a good sized head. I have plenty of headroom. And we'll spin round. Now this is cool. This is one of the largest showers I've ever seen. I thought we were spoiled on our XS11 with the shower that we have. But just come look at the size of this. You could get 4 people in here. It's mad. And obviously this is your entry door, so you can come in and out of your cabin. If you're wet or if you want to just go out for a swim, you can get changed and go straight out without having to go round through the cockpit. Okay, let's quickly look up on top. So, again, even more storage. This is a storage locker, so you can put all your fenders in here. They're away. You've got ample seating up here as well, and there's gonna be some really cool, innovative features I've not seen before. So this isn't gonna have a typical electric throttle or a dual handle throttle. This is going to have a single joystick, and you can use the single joystick to control the yacht, and it's all hydraulically operated, which is something that's very innovative and I've not seen before. But loads of space up here. All your ropes are going to come into this helm station, and you've got a duplicated helm station on your port side as well. Right, come with me. You've got really cool steps up the side here, so you can access the coach roof if you need to. You've got up top lounge seating on the coach roof. So there's loads of really cool features up front as well. This catamaran only has 1 engine. So that's how they've been able to save so much space at the stern. They don't have engine compartments, so they've been able to utilize that space for livability instead. So you've got your engine compartment here for the 1 engine. And then you've got this lovely little seating area up front, so you can sit with a table, have your lunch. But one of the coolest features is the trampolines. Now, yes, every catamaran, or the majority of catamarans, have trampolines. But these ones, you can actually bounce on. The owners are actively encouraging people to jump on the trampolines. Unlike most production boats, where there's strict rules saying no jumping allowed. So one of the most unique things about this boat is its bold design. It is like nothing I've ever seen before. Kind of where did that design come from? Why did you decide to be so bold with what you were building?
On my side, it's the vast experience in cruising. We chased summers for 7 years continuously. And all
I know
the
that
issues,
feeling, yeah.
all the issues that I wish was just different and its various boats, from big schooners down to high-performance catamarans.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're making passage, there's hours of getting good ideas together. So on my side, it's basically a 7-year process of documenting everything that I wish was different.
But it very much sounds like you've distilled all these ideas over your sailing careers into what you would define as the perfect boat.
Yes.
You're building what you imagine is the perfect boat for you guys.
I joke with Chris, it's the last boat I'll ever build, and it's the last boat you ever want to own. Is bigger better? I tried bigger. It's just more work. Is smaller better? No, it's too small.
Yeah.
So, and meeting up with Chris gave us the idea to actually go wild on the design.
Yeah.
And believe me, in the 2 years that we sat in front of the design table, this boat was really wild, and then he sort of the break.
It still is quite wild, guys. It still looks
probably be
amazing.
a lot worse when he didn't have his way. But the two of us complement each other. He brings the reality component into, guys, let's just focus on what we're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And I push the limits, perhaps sometimes too far.
Yes.
But what I feel, my first impression of the boat is it feels like it's a very large boat, just shrunk down. The space you have managed to build in what is a 35-foot boat, a 10.5-meter boat, it feels so much larger. It feels like there's so much living space in here. How have you been able to achieve that?
I must give a lot of credit to Chris there with the design.
You've done an amazing job. It's not finished yet, but my goodness, it feels big.
He came up with his lists that he was telling you about.
Yeah. So his wish list.
His wish list.
Yeah.
Demand list.
The demand list. I want these features.
He had this huge demand list.
Yeah.
And with my engineering background, he said to me, this is what must be in this boat. This is what's good about sailing, must be in this boat. This is what is crap about sailing.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it close.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of gymnastics
to work it all out, kind of get all in its place.
Because she's got to be structural. She's got to comply. So the compliance factor and all of that had to be measured all the time against this list of...
So you've got this balancing act between building what is a really good sailing boat that's structurally sound, that meets regulations, but you've got this wish list of the things that you have been building and the things you wanted over the last few years. How do you meet in the middle? How do you come to that fair negotiation of this is kind of the middle point, this is the meeting ground?
I think the first 2 years was a lot of visiting each other's studios and just working through designs. How many times you've done this model? You told me.
I stopped counting at 27.
So there's been 27 different iterations of this boat.
Then you stop counting.
And then you stop counting, so there's many more.
Of the SolidWorks model.
Well, it feels like you've done an amazing job. I'm very excited to see how it sails, because that's the main test of a sailboat. But certainly in terms of just seeing the hull and the clever elements of design you've done, and just the space you've been able to create, it just feels very impressive. So the team at Onyx Marine have definitely spent years poring over the right details. You can tell there's been so much thought that's gone into this boat. I think they've absolutely nailed the design of it. I think it looks incredible, and I really hope the finished product looks like the renders online. How well will it sail? Well, according to the owners, it's going to sail really, really well, and I cannot wait to go on a sea trial.